At the beginning of the movie, we see a scene set in the Egyptian desert in 1910. A man walks alone through the barren sands, exhausted and troubled by something. He gets a flashback of a young boy, likely his son. He keeps walking until, worn out, he collapses to his knees. The man takes out an ancient artifact and mutters, "Creator of evil, creator of chaos, Volpazu, taker of children." He then buries the artifact in the desert sand and says, "Ashraf, my son, forgive me," revealing that under the demon's influence, he had brutally killed his own child. He then pulls out a dagger and stabs himself. His body starts to contort unnaturally, and we briefly glimpse the demon before the screen cuts to black. The next shot shows his lifeless body lying in the desert.
Comment, subscribe to Recapss Horror.
The movie then shifts to 2003. We see an old house in California where a terrified boy calls 911, telling the operator that his mommy scares him at night. When asked his name, he says, "Mikey," he whispers. "I'm under the table." The operator asks if his mother is in the house and where she is. Mickey replies, "I don't know, but mommy is a monster." The operator tells him to stay hidden and that help is on the way. Just then, Mikey hears strange noises. Suddenly, his mother Abigail appears and begins to chase him. Mickey runs and hides in another room, peeking through a small gap. He watches as Abigail enters the same room, searching for him. She sits down, urinates in front of him, then gets up and throws a toy across the room. Crying, she says, "I'm sorry," and pleads, "Please don't be mad at mommy." Her tone then shifts as she speaks something in a demonic language before disappearing from Mikey's sight. Terrified, Mikey slowly crawls out of hiding, breathing heavily, when suddenly Abigail crawls out from under the bed. Mickey bolts for his life. She chases him as he runs into another room and hides again. Abigail slowly opens the door, pauses, then slams it shut, causing a cross to fall from the door. Moments later, she reopens the door and lunges at Mikey, and the screen cuts to black. Later, we see Abigail and Mikey sitting on the couch, watching TV. The news reports that Mikey was abducted from his home over 9 months ago. He is the 4th child to be kidnapped in the past 12 months in Los Angeles County. On the screen, Mikey's real mother pleads for help, asking anyone with information to contact the authorities. Hearing this, Abigail looks at Mikey and laughs. Mikey stares back, horrified, as Abigail's face begins to look demonic. Just then, police officers arrive and knock on the door. Startled, Abigail hushes Mikey and orders him to hide. "Don't make a sound," she warns. "If I hear or see anything, the monster will come for you." She then opens the door to the officer. The cop tells her they received a 911 call from this house and asks if everything is okay. Abigail calmly says everything's fine. When he asks if she's alone, she insists she is. The officer requests to come inside, and though she hesitates at first, she eventually lets him in, closing the door with a smile. The officer begins inspecting the house and notices a toy on the floor. He asks if there's a child in the house, but Abigail doesn't respond. As he turns, he hears strange noises nearby. Turning on his flashlight, he moves cautiously, scanning the rooms. Suddenly, he hears footsteps running behind him and radios his team, requesting backup. A moment later, he hears the sound again and enters the bathroom, only to find the bathtub filled with blood. Shocked, he reports it to his team and finds a way to basement nearby. He slowly makes his way toward the basement. Descending the stairs, he shines his light around and freezes in horror. 3 small bodies lie on the floor, covered with blood-soaked white sheets. He radios in that he's found potential victims, 3 children. Suddenly, Abigail appears behind him, eerily dancing. She lunges at him and gunshot echoes through the house. Just then, Mikey moves toward the basement, calling out, "Mommy!" Suddenly, the cop emerges from the basement and flashes his torch at Mikey. He radios his team, reporting that the child is inside the house. But before he can say more, he's violently pulled back into the basement. His screams echo through the house as blood splatters across the wall. The movie then cuts to 1 year earlier. we see a man named John making a call to his ex-wife Charlotte. The call goes to voicemail, and he pleads with her to answer, saying they can still fix their relationship. Frustrated when she doesn't respond, he curses and hangs up. He then pulls the cloth off an object placed in front of him, revealing the same ancient artifact we saw at the beginning of the movie. Just then, John receives a call from his colleague, warning him not to mess with the artifact. The colleague says there are online rumors about it, claims that it's a portal for a demon to emerge if the artifact's head is removed. John scoffs, saying he doesn't believe in such nonsense. The colleague insists their client wants the artifact intact and is offering a good amount for it. John replies that he needs the money too, since his divorce is costing him everything, and his ex-wife is trying to take his daughters away. The colleague asks if John's daughters are with him, cautioning that the artifact should be kept away from children. He explains that according to what's written online, there's a dark entity called Volpazu, a demon that possesses people. It preys on children to abuse them, to sacrifice them, or to turn them into something demonic. And once released, it spreads like a disease. John laughs it off, mocking his colleague's warning. But then, something draws his attention to the artifact. Almost entranced, he ends the call, picks it up, and begins twisting its head. As he finally removes it, smoke seeps out from it, and John's face slowly curls into an eerie smile. The scene shifts to John's daughters, Alice and Abigail, watching TV together. John approaches them and gently tells Alice to go to bed. Abigail, however, looks uneasy around her father. He notices her fear and tells her not to hide her face, calling her beautiful. Later that night, John is seen in the bathroom, looking himself in the mirror, kissing himself, and making weird faces and laughing unnaturally, as if under a sinister influence. He then enters Abigail's room and hushes her. Abigail looks deeply terrified. He then sexually abuses her under demonic possession, and later warns her not to tell anyone, not her mother, her sister, or anyone else. Early in the morning, he comes again to her room, and Abigail notices that he is eating her foot. She screams in horror as he climbs on her. He and Demon grabs her face and then vomits blood inside her mouth. She screams in horror, and the cross hanged on wall falls. John stares at her with a sinister smile, and suddenly, Abigail's own expression changes, revealing that the demonic presence has now possessed her. Later, we see Abigail secretly leaving her house. Then, John is shown vomiting. He receives a call from Charlotte and asks if Abigail is with her. She replies, no. He tells her that Abigail has left the house and that he has no idea why. He doesn't remember anything from the previous night and only discovered this morning that she's gone. Charlotte gets angry and asks about Alice. John reassures her that Alice is fine. Charlotte suggests that maybe Abigail went to his parents' house, but he replies that the house burned down about 20 years ago. We then see Abigail at a place. Tormented and broken by what she's endured, she discovers she is pregnant. Overcome with despair, she takes a hanger, heats it, and inserts it into herself, killing her unborn child. Later, she calls Alice, crying. She tells her younger sister that something terrible has happened, and she can't come home. Alice begs her to return, but Abigail refuses, saying, "You wouldn't believe me," and tells her not to look for her, ending the call by saying, "I love you." Later, she is seen sleeping on the couch when suddenly, her father yells at her. Her body starts stiffening. She's actually hallucinating, visualizing her father. He says, "He chose you, Abigail. You betrayed him. You killed his child. You ruined yourself. Now you'll have to pay." He drags her to a chair and continues, "He chose you to be his handmaid, but you messed up. Now you're useless to him." He then presses a knife against her arm and slowly cuts it, but in reality, it's Abigail hurting herself. She scrapes her own skin as her father's voice echoes, "He'll just take Alice instead of you. It's only a matter of time before he develops a secret love for her too. He'll pay her a little late-night visit, just like he did with you." Abigail sobs, "Please, no," while her father's laughter fills the room. We then see Abigail pleading to the demon, begging it not to harm Alice. She says she'll do anything it wants her to do. Her father appears again and says, "The demon wants a little boy. You killed his child, so you'll have to find another one." Abigail now appears possessed. Next, we see a young boy playing in the park. While playing, he wanders into a ruined, abandoned area. As he moves further inside, he hears something fall. Following the sound, he sees Abigail, now fully possessed, who abducts him. Later, Abigail is shown horrified, staring at the boy's dead body in her house. John appears and says, "He wasn't the one." Abigail cries, "What have I done?" John replies, "He was not different. He wasn't drawn into the darkness. You have to keep looking for the right child." Abigail breaks down, saying she can't keep doing this. John tells her about a specific boy she need to abduct. The scene then cuts to a moment where the cop inform their team that the missing child is inside the house. Suddenly, he is pulled into the basement. His screams echo through the walls, and moments later, we see his brutally mutilated body. Abigail then appears in front of Mikey. A loud thud is heard from above. She screams, "I did this for you! Look at what you're making me do!" The demon growls from the ceiling. Abigail turns to Mikey and says tearfully, "I just wanted to protect you from all the awful things I know the demon wants to do to you, the things he did to the others. But I can't keep up with his appetite," she says. "I can't do this anymore." As the demon draws closer, Abigail puts a gun to her head and pulls the trigger. Mikey, terrified, runs. He hears the demon's growls behind him, echoing through the darkness. He looks around and suddenly spots the demon charging toward him. Terrified, he runs for his life. The creature vanishes, but its footsteps and snarls follow him. Mikey spins around and sees the demon rushing at him again. He spots the gun on the floor, grabs it, and fires. The screen cuts to black. When the scene returns, Mikey is alive, covered in blood and smiling. The story then shifts to John, sitting in a bathtub, listening to the news on the radio. The reporter says, "Police have made a grim discovery at a Pasadena home on Maple Street. Inside, they found the body of a woman named Abigail, dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Sheriff Miller was also found dead. Investigators now believe Abigail was behind the recent abductions and murders of 3 children whose bodies were recovered from the basement. One child, identified as Mikey, was found alive after being missing for 18 months. Hearing this, John screams in grief, then electrocutes himself to death in the bathtub. The story then shifts 20 years later. We see a talk show host, Jennifer, preparing to interview a special guest, none other than Alice, Abigail's sister. Jennifer introduces Alice to the audience. She grew up with absolute evil. She shared bunk beds with the most infamous child abductor our nation has ever seen. She witnessed her own sister become the center of one of the most disturbing cases in American history. 20 years later, she's here to share her side of the story in one of the most compelling books we've ever featured. From family trauma to New York Times bestseller, please welcome the author of Mommy Monster, Alice. Jennifer asks Alice about her book. Alice explains, in 2003, my older sister Abigail committed suicide. We didn't know at the time, but her death was connected to a highly publicized investigation. It was all over the news for months. She was born with a cleft lip, and allegedly, she kidnapped 4 young boys. They said she killed them, though, as you know, only one survived. Jennifer asks, "Mikey?" And Alice confirms. Jennifer then says, "If Mikey is watching this interview right now, what would you like to say to him?" Alice replies, "I guess I'd want him to know that she's very sorry for what he went through. She hopes he's healing and that he finds happiness." Later, when Alice returns home, she watches the interview and realizes that Jennifer has completely twisted it, using her sister's story as a Halloween special gimmick. Upset, she talks to her boyfriend on the phone, venting about how Jennifer exploited her family's trauma for ratings. While still on the call, the doorbell rings. It's Halloween, and 3 kids dressed as ghosts stand outside. Alice smiles, drops candies into their buckets, and wishes them happy Halloween. Later, she's seen watching an old clip of Mikey's mother being interviewed. The woman says, "Ever since Mikey came home, he's changed. I just wish I could have my Mikey back." Mikey's psychiatrist, Dr. Elliot, adds, "We know very little about what Mikey endured in that house." Mickey's mother continues, He just stands or sits silently. I try to talk to him, but he won't respond. It's like I'm a stranger, like I'm not his mother anymore, Dr. Elliot explains. Mikey now sees Abigail as his mother, even after her death. It's a textbook case of Stockholm Syndrome, where the victim begins to empathize with their abuser. Mikey's mother adds, "He only draws monsters now." Elliot continues, "What's especially disturbing is his fixation on the 3 dead children found in Abigail's basement. We don't know if he met them before or only knew them as victims, but his drawings suggest he formed a morbid bond with them." Mickey's mother sighs. He became the darkest soul. Why did Abigail hurt him? The scene then cuts to an interview with one of John's former colleagues. He says, Abigail was possessed by a demon. It was all her father's fault. John had an artifact, something with a demon trapped inside. I told him not to open it, but he did. And now it's out. Just then, Alice's doorbell rings again. A child dressed as a ghost stands outside. Seeing his empty candy bucket, she asks gently, "Did your friends take your candy?" She puts some sweets into his bucket and closes the door, but a faint sense of unease creeps over her. She returns to her laptop, where Jennifer is still interviewing her. Jennifer says, "At the end of your book, you mentioned some interesting statistics about childhood trauma." Alice replies, "Yes. Research shows that around 60% of the general population has experienced at least one adverse childhood event, something traumatic before the age of 17. But that number rises to 97% among the criminal population. I believe children who suffer trauma deserve extra care and support as adults." Jennifer asks, "So, do you believe Mikey could be dangerous?" Alice falls silent, unable to answer. Suddenly, her phone vibrates. She picks it up, and a haunting voice speaks in a foreign language. Alice recognizes it immediately. It's Abigail. Crying, Abigail whispers, "He's going to hear me. Dad abused me. He put a monster inside me." Later, old photographs appear before Alice. Suddenly, Abigail rushes at the screen, and a demon's face jolts Alice awake. At that moment, the doorbell rings. Terrified, she comes out and sees a child covered in a white sheet, dressed as a ghost. Alice opens the door and asks, "Where are your parents?" But it's no child. She realizes it's Mikey. The scene cuts to Alice grabbing a gun and stepping out of her room. Mikey is sitting calmly on a chair. Terrified, she sits in front of him and asks, "Why are you here, Mikey? You can't just come to my house like this. I'm going to call someone to take you home, okay?" Mikey says, "You're not safe anymore. It's out there again and my mommy. She can't protect you." Alice asks, "You mean Abigail?" He nods. Alice presses, "Protect me from what?" Mikey says, "I have these dark thoughts. They want me to do terrible things because it says I am the one." Alice asks, "Who says it?" He replies, "I don't want to be the one." Alice asks, "Chosen for what?" "For the darkness," he says, warning again. "You're not safe anymore. My mommy was innocent." He grabs her hand, adding, "It wasn't her fault." Alice says, "I know, Mikey." He asks, "Can you be my mommy?" Alice denies, saying she can't, but she will get him some help. She tries to pull her hand away, but Mikey doesn't let go. Suddenly, Alice points the gun at him. "Let go, or I'll call the police." Mickey says, "I'm sorry. I brought it here." Alice asks, "Brought what?" At that moment, a demonic growl echoes and Mikey bolts, running away. Alice returns to her bedroom and hears a strange sound. Just then, she spots the demon in her home. The scene then cuts to Mikey sitting outside Alice's house, as memories of the demon and his past trauma flood back. Overwhelmed, he starts suffocating himself with a white sheet. In his memory, the demon screams and blood begins to pour from young Mikey's eyes. Later, Alice's boyfriend Alex arrives at her home. He notices Mikey standing in front of him, but he suddenly hides behind a tree. Alex steps out of his car and calls out, "Who's there?" Mickey then suddenly appears behind him and stabs him, killing him instantly. Afterward, Mikey ties a rope around his own neck, dons Alex's jacket and cap, and the scene cuts to black. The scene shifts to next day, where Jennifer is gleefully telling her teammate Diana that Alice's boyfriend died last night. She remarks that Alice came on her show, and now her boyfriend is dead. It's a ratings bonanza. It had to be Mikey. Who else could it be? She says. Jennifer instructs Diana to bring Alice back to the studio immediately, by hook or by crook. She promises to pay her double if needed, but insists Alice must be in the studio right away. Jennifer demands that Diana gather information before she reached the studio, emphasizing that she will be there very soon. We then see Jennifer arriving at the studio. To her surprise, the studio is completely empty.
You're still watching? Good. Like, comment, and subscribe to Recapss Horror.
No one is there. Suddenly, she hears footsteps. She calls Diana, and the phone rings inside the studio. Terrified, Jennifer cautiously moves forward when Diana's whispering voice calls out to her. Diana, covered in blood, says, "It's him. He killed everyone." Jennifer asks, "Who?" Diana replies, "He's still here. You have to hide." At that moment, gunshots ring out, and they see Mikey shooting their team member. Jennifer quickly hides with Diana. She immediately pulls a taser from her bag and dashes to another spot. Mikey is seen roaming the studio, hunting for survivors. Jennifer then throws her footwear toward the hiding spot where Diana is, distracting Mickey. He turns toward Diana and shoots at her head. Meanwhile, Jennifer tries to escape, but the shutter is locked. Mickey fires at her but misses. He then grabs her by the head and repeatedly slams it against the shutter. As he shoots at her, he realizes the bullets have run out. Seizing the moment, Jennifer shocks him with the taser and runs. The scene cuts to her calling 911, explaining the situation, when suddenly Mickey appears with a knife, aiming to stab her. But just then, Alice arrives and stops him. Alice says, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to be the one. I will be your mommy. I'll take care of you. You don't have to be alone anymore. Now, put the knife down." Hearing this, Mickey's heart softens. He drops the knife and releases Jennifer. He moves toward Alice, but the demon possesses him, forcing him to strangle her. As he attempts to kill Alice, Jennifer stabs Mikey in the face with a knife. Mickey is dead now, and Jennifer asks Alice, "Are you available for an interview tomorrow?" The scene cuts. Finally, John's house is shown up for sale, and the artifact remains lying in the basement. With that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.